Taking order. Ready, Mayor Brian Lewis, your Council President Marty Perry, here, Councilor Dean Oliveris. Present. Councilor Joseph Carson. Here. Councilor Jeff Hensley is absent tonight. We have a quorum this meeting. I'm Dylan, living in Texas. No, I've been, we've got a house for 7 first, and so is that. I don't think they've ever used it in house yet. No. They don't have electricity out there. Sarah with the local paper. I'm queued out from the 2 o'clock. That's not. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Once you approve it, from that meeting. Any opposed? Public comment. There's going to be time to speak from the city council and the mayor on any subject, including what is in the list on the agenda, except for public hearings. The time limit is 3 minutes per person. No public comments? Mr. Mayor, I wanted to recommend that there's a motion to suspend the agenda of item 10A. I'll make a motion to suspend the agenda so that we can hear to the author. In favor? Any opposed? So I don't know if anyone has a chance to look at it. There are a few items that we have thought about and addressed. So overall, the accounting and the financials look fine. For the future. So this one will already use some past. We switched to one from based on single water revenues and expenses revenues. And it's city 4 years central acid, having a bubble and debt and all this kind of things, right? And if you combine it all, then your water and the and then the whole city matches become a business item, which is my age. So I actually need to keep the on the other side of the song and the film that you're going to roll back into the question in the future. The other option would be to put it all in the general fund and budget it. But then you have to talk about it to me.
Yeah, that in English means.
So you know, I'm not like you're being everything straight.
Okay.
All I mean is things are very difficult to this one for the information. You know, I think it's so it's not by any means significant. I mean, it's not a we're not rejecting the financial result, but it is a significant issue that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm trying to remember why we switched from green to this now because of passive. I want to say because of passive accounting when we're trying to clean things up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry. That was the reason that I recommended that and then doing it for a second year in a row. The conversations we've had have been very clear about the necessity to keep things more separate when it comes to how the budget is written. So as budget officer for the next fiscal year, I will be introducing going back to the free fund system. Nothing really materially is going to change. Everything's still going to be in the same bank account. There's just going to be a different system for tracking how certain funds funded and are spent.
We have 3 separate bank accounts.
Well, we have one bank account at the time. Well, we still have. I mean, that didn't ever change.
Oh,
The money has always been in the same place. There were a lot of things in the previous budgets that didn't really match up with what I was seeing in the bank account statements. So I figured it was a way to kind of clean things up nicely and get some information and get some data over a period of time so we could track things better. And I was hoping that it was something we could continue doing. Because the state budget manual itself doesn't seem to say that itself is a no-no, but there are SB standards we have to come from the federal government that make that really a touchy situation. So that is why, as budget officer, the next recommended budget will be, we're going to go back to those 3 funds. But I think we have a lot better data system in our systems now to be able to do that a lot more financially.
So does this work?
Yeah, so this
Then
works.
going forward, if we change it, or we don't have to go back to these 3 meals or.
Yeah. So the reason we went in this direction is because it's if we switch for the 2 years and you're going to go on and then switch back, then you would have a lot of statements and financials each of those years. And you would have this kind of disconnect part of the issue is QuickBooks, which is your accounting software, doesn't handle fund accounting. You have to do these weird classes or account differently, and you have to transfer it. We have multiple funds, but most structures do it. It's one of the layers you can go. You have to work with it.
Do we have a way to work around it?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I actually have 3 different pieces of software that I use to track all of our expenditures and revenue. And the goal is to make sure we have duplicated sets of data. One, so that there's a backup in case any one of them fails. But 2, I can make sure that I'm really doing the work to go and make sure every number matches up where it's supposed to. Otherwise, that's a problem for us and it's a problem for the auditor and everybody else involved.
Based on the direction we're going. There is a comment, it's basically like finding saying this budget violation. Because now the financials don't have to be budgeted. But I think that's probably the answer of all the two evils. But it's not my decision, these are your financials. So.
And he did a very, very good explanation for why that needs to happen. Ultimately, the council is the one that ends up making the decision about what is in the budget, but as your budget officer, I mean, this is what's going to be presented to you. You can amend it if you want, but I'm going to do what. Yeah. And I think again, we're in a much better position to do that than we were today. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's really the biggest issue. There's two small things. We also need to control the issue. And you're always going to have to be yeah, okay. The other one is one of the things at the end of the year is the negative nation balance. I don't know what that's from. You know, so without the reality of these kind of people,
Now that we do have this spreadsheet where hours are put as far as working and vacation, so we need something beyond that.
so you need to match that to your base stuff. It's really. So it is we can act.
Something that needs to be on there, so.
Well, I mean, that's a service to your employees, that'll be helpful, I mean, soon. But if you get them started tracking, the one other option would be not put anything on your pay stub if they have their tracking that are using it outside of so that's a good option.
My comment on that would be is that whenever there's vacation or sick time, I let our accountant know. But I'm kind of wondering if there's some kind of old hangers-on data that's in the system about how much everybody gets that is ending up causing this problem. That's something that I would be reviewing with our accountant. Does the actual payroll stuff, but it's something for us to dig into and see. Maybe there's something that simply just wasn't updated for the last city manager who was doing this was doing something that.
So we have an issue. Yeah. Maybe it's probably the big stuff in that still maybe make sure. The key is to have a clear location policy and then make sure it matches right.
Yeah, we do have a clear vacation policy in our employee handbook to sign phone adherence and excited. That's easy enough for us to process those and update the system, make sure there's no more issue with it.
And then the second, and these are all relatively new. The only big one is relative free funds issue. There was some misreported things in QuickBooks that weren't. I think they were trying to get the invoices correct, but they were actual transactions. And so there's just some errors in QuickBooks, and that happens. You know, I didn't come to the record QuickBooks myself, but I just go ahead and force it all the time, just because they're tools to record things can add extra transactions and if that's your paying attention. So when we first got the information, it looked like they're more revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be aware that it's part of that is monitoring, folks, and making, and also do your bank reconciliations and those kind of things that are coming from QuickBooks. Because that would have shown, those extra transactions that were. And then you can see that's one way to kind of discover those kinds of errors.
Yeah, maybe talk about a couple of those things that were kind of inflating numbers. One was when we were looking at raising water rates. I created duplicates of a couple different months of water bills, but under my name. So there was like 9,000 in one, 10,000 in the other. So suddenly it looks like there's 19,000 receivables floating out there. I know that it's not actual revenue because it was just testing. But when we handed it to an auditor about telling them that's what that is, that makes his life more difficult. So we did go out and this weekend when our account visited, we did all those. We saved a copy of them because they're public records, showed that the data was there, but we took it out of the system. So we didn't,
I don't mind. Is there a little bit of budget notice notice? I like to actually go back and forth because I can try to get more information. So it looks like there's two budget meetings. There's the budget committee meeting, which requires publication in a newspaper and on the internet. And then the budget hearing meeting, which requires basically a copy of your budget in a newspaper. And both of those have to be done within between 5 and 30 days before the meeting. These are fairly antiquated budget laws, but they've not changed. They kind of went away during COVID because they got suspended. We didn't have to worry about them very much, but now they're back in place. And so it looked like there was one notice that was published, but we couldn't find the information on the other. Someone can find it, we can get rid of that note, but that's what's going on. And the one notice that was published was for the hearing, and it didn't include the entire budget information. So that's just something to be aware of. If you haven't gone to one of those, but budget meetings with the state fund, better keep doing, go with that. Maybe you're also place.
yeah, I was looking over some of those areas there and I have some more information to follow.
So those are the findings, and we don't use numbers last year, we go. It does seem like you're having a really good review of financial month. I don't know if that's useful for you.
I mean, like a clip note kind of overview or? Don't want to spend hours here.
No.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? I mean, I just say basically, well, there's two numbers out of that. So financially, the government was the top level, the that position, so the loss of the city and overall, the net position, which is the value of city benefits and everything, is at the end.
My one comment about the 38,000 last net position is that we spent a lot of ARPA funds, and that was about that round. So that was money that we wouldn't have had unless somebody gave it to us. We have kind of like our actual numbers, which is our regular general fund streams we know about, state revenue sharing and property taxes and water. And then there's the extraneous other stuff. And it kind of ends up inflating how much we have and how much is available to use. So when it says the net position is 38 less, that made sense. That's not something we normally have. So we're kind of making the budget more realistic. It's easy for somebody to hear that number, oh, city lost 38 grand, but really, we got 38 grand and we used it and we're done.
Well, except you reported it as revenue too, so.
Well, we did get, it was a grant, the ARPA funds that came in, so. Yeah,
but- So, they can vote for the town, still be. So I guess the only other thing I would mention to you is here with, the city, passed a new law, trying to change some of the audit rules. And so it used to be that if you have 150, or less, expenditures, you need to do now the goal is you can do a meeting on continuous if you have revenue between 250,000 and $1 million in a year. And that's where the city is falling. So you don't necessarily have to do an audit every year. It's up to you. You could do agreed upon procedures. I will say, I'm not sure how much money that's going to take. Because the state kind of went through a wish list of agreed upon procedures. And they made it very close to it in terms of the amount of work. Just wanting to be aware that if you hear about agreed upon procedures, that's a new law, it's an option for you.
You've done that now, probably.
Yes. Basically, instead of doing the audit where we do the auditors make the mistakes. So, for example, we're required to look at 5 credit card transactions. We're required to look at months of payroll. If your payroll is significant enough. So the whole list of things we're required to read all the written procedures. And make sure that they address things like cash accounts, payroll, this whole list. All your written policies have to just kind of exist. And then there's all of the budget things we're currently doing that you have to keep doing. So it may save a little bit of money for the city. It may be an option. It's all new to all of us. I spent a few days in January trying to figure out what it really means. And it's pretty close to the same amount of work we would do for your audit. But it's an option. The other thing you might consider is we're seeing that more and more smaller entities switching to a cash basis accounting instead of accrual. So that would be an option. Basically, it's kind of instead of having to record, who payroll liabilities, you wouldn't have to. It's basically just whenever cash comes in, you report it as revenue. Whenever cash goes out, it's expense. That's it. There's no of this which period is supposed to be in kind of scenario. So we're seeing more and more entities switch to that. It also allows you to get away from some of these GASBs that they keep coming out of. So, for example, the latest GASB is all these kinds of things where you have to report a right to use asset and corresponding liability for no real purpose other than to balance things. So if you have leases like for a copier, we have to start reporting those things. If we switch to cash basis, you can start eliminating some of the and shrink your financials. I'm not sure. Right now you have a lot of pension things or OPEB. Sorry. Getting into my jargon. So you have a number of pages just strictly related to your other post-employment benefits, which really means healthcare after your employees retire. So a few years ago, they required every employee to be given access to health insurance up until they hit Social Security age if they want. And so that's the employer would have to pay for it, but it overall would raise your rates as a city. And so there's a liability currently out of your books related to that possibility. That report, that study, and you have to do kind of actuarial report every few years to kind of get a sense of those numbers. That has not been done in a while. We either need to remove it or do another report. Technically, if you remove it and you're doing a full audit, accrual accounting, it'll be another qualified opinion kind of thing. So switching to cash basis may help with some of these kind of issues where they're not really providing you extra information that would be useful. They're just adding to your costs. Just something to think about. I just wanted to bring up those two items as possibilities in the future.
Interesting.
So is there enough auditors to keep up with all of
There
this?
wasn't last year, you said.
It sounds like it's always behind.
So that's the other significant issue in the accounting world. No, they're not. The state doing these redeployment procedures was hopefully gonna make the few auditors kind of be able to spread out and do more work. The amount of work they added to the redeployment procedures makes it less likely that would be the case. And the cost of all these standards makes it so, like for us to do an audit, you know, just the software that we need to get all the programs and checklists and everything is a few $1,000s per audit. And it's going up. And so more and more accounting firms are electing to move outside and not audits around the state, around the country. So that's just the reality of it, and you're increasingly seeing that. It makes it hard for cities like you to figure out what direction to go, and I realize that. We used to be able to kind of do it as public service, you know, and work tax work to cover the cost of our audits. And the reality is audit work is so expensive now that it's hard to do.
So since this is definitely not my language, the cash basis accounting, does that need to be audited as well?
So that would still need to be audited, you have to follow the state rules, but it just makes it cleaner. And there are some firms that only do cash basis of auditing because it's so much less work that you can kind of roll them out. So if you're looking for an auditor, you may say you want to switch to cash and you may get a few more responses. I don't know. But, you know, at least if you're willing to make that adjustment, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, but it's a possibility. But yeah, no, you still have to do an audit or.
Yeah, you gotta have somewhere, something to read to figure out how we want to go, you gotta something to just give you the direction of which ways that's gonna go, I think.
The agreed upon, whatever you said, sorry. That seems like it's right for, if the entity decides what, for the most part, they want you to look at, absent a couple of things, that seems interesting to me.
So it's actually not the entity,
Okay,
it's the state.
okay.
The state has come up with 4 or 5 page documents saying these are all the things you have to.
No,
And the only time you don't look at it is if it doesn't exist.
so I was thinking, man, that's a lot of leeway, it's pretty scary.
No, I will say, and I don't know what it's like for your city, the biggest hurdle is all these written procedures that you kind of have to have everything documented. And so we're seeing, I mean, a lot of our smaller entities kind of have developed over the years and, you know, they go from one person to the next, they don't necessarily have a lot of written procedures. And now that's a violation if you do these freedom of procedures. So there may be a little bit of overhead to write everything up that first year.
You have a procedure on how to write a procedure. Yeah.
So Peter, I think I said I'd follow up with you on a couple of these things. What I want to know so that we're all aware of the schedule is how soon do you need like formal approval of we accepted everything and we can.
So ideally, so when we applied for an extension, we said to the end of February. Which makes it a money to objects. Really about Alex was getting that information as soon as we requested it. It's just purely it's to be at 6 do that for me, I'm fine, but I just wanted to mention, so ideally, you would have it, we would have it a few days before, approval before the 29th. Yeah. 29th. So we can get it into the state by the 29th. If that doesn't work, we can request another extension. The state may or may not grant it, but we can also just go ahead and, you know, when you're ready, submit it.
All right, so we've already had one special meeting this month. We've had a few special meetings this year, and I think we'd like to probably not do a whole lot more. If we were to just go ahead and approve these tonight, would that be acceptable for you?
That's fine.
The alternative is to have another meeting before the end of this month and then do it. I know, right? I guess that would be a council decision. Do we want to have another meeting this month where we just vote on approval and get everything over, or do we want to go ahead and approve this now? Is there, I mean, there's some things that I wanted to follow up with you with, but I think the interest of time, just kind of wanting to get stuff done. It's not a bad idea to just go ahead and approve what we have now.
But we're gonna change it again next year to put it at 3-tier thing. This is okay by the state to let this go through this year and clean it up more next year. That might be the option we need. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a lot better than it has been in the past. I've been on this board since 1981. So I've seen, we used to have, I was going to use that bit. Used to have 15 different line items on the budget.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been, I've been doing this audit for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, like that. And it's definitely, you know.
Step in the right direction,
Yes.
Yeah.
So you should be proud of Alex, he just put a lot of work into this.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot of the city.
So, you know, my comments were not anything against Alex, just the reality of the situation.
We don't know, you know, we don't know the problem like you guys do. Yeah, I know I don't. I'm not really good. I've heard you got get up grades math high school, you know?
So is there a downside, the pros and cons of going ahead and doing it tonight?
So I think there are still a couple of things that like we talked about looking at older budget notices and seeing what got right and got wrong. We just say, no, we're just gonna approve this as is, and we don't follow up on it, more or less. I think we have a lot to deal with as a city right now, and I think our time is better used on some other things we have pressing, especially, you know, again, there's a lot of regulatory paperwork I keep mentioning about adding new laws to the system, and if I'm spending my time planning for a meeting and clerking it and everything else, that takes away from the time of getting our water situation solved. So, personally, I'm okay with the council voting to approve the other that's been presented. You feel that way too?
Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it, make sure you pay attention, so I would prefer not to say.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Will it cause you issues if we approve it as it is tonight?
No.
No, okay.
That's better you walk up by that.
Yeah.
If you go to the state, you won't be here, start going to jail.
Yeah, I will say there are a few highlighted items that we need to drag in from Alex or someone else. So there'd be small tweaks to it, but the overall financial structure would be.
Well, it's heartening that you didn't come in here ready to put us in time.
Okay.
So we did a motion to approve the audit.
I just wish Jeff was here.
Well, he can just do what I need to do later.
So can it be like a conditional improvement, that's what we're saying, approval, thank you. That, given the things that we need to talk about and tweak that would be time limited. That's done, then it's approved.
Well, I don't think we even need to be that granular with it. You could just say we go to approve it, and then if after that we find something that really needs to be fixed before the 29th, then we go and Mr. Mayor, we could have a meeting, we can figure the council and then do those approvals. I don't think a vote on it now won't prevent us from voting on it again if something actually needs to be changed that requires that level of scrutiny.
If I understand you right, doing an audit like this is mostly trying to say you need to do this right, and you need to do this different. These are the things that you can improve on, but as long as all the financials are there.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely part of it, is figuring out which things are, you need to tweak a little bit. The other is just making sure you get a clean material, clean financials that match reality. Provided because it goes out to the state.
Nothing illegal about it, we're not breaking laws, and money's all accounted for, just, we gotta clean up some of the wording.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing.
Yeah. It's
We are actually, as auditors, are reviewing your financials, the financial report, and it's a month.
And also if somebody was actually embezzling, then you really want them to be finding that out, because if somebody is legitimately doing something wrong, others don't. But hopefully not.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we adopt the budget. Okay,
But even the audit. And I second that motion from Ranking. Aye. Any opposed? So I will say the one final thing.
Uh-oh. You couldn't have that before we were.
So you will get a chance to use those findings again, because part of the scenario is you have to have a corrective action plan within 30 days of the audit being released sometime in March. You have to kind of go through it and do a corrective action plan. So that's part of this whole thing. So the actual findings.
Not burden you guys on going through it. And then coming up with a conclusion for your plan of action.
We have to do it. So when the state says do it, you gotta do it.
Did you want to stay? You're more than welcome.
No.
Come on.
I will say, if anyone ever has questions. If you please have,
It was a lot to get, and this is not to be narrow, it was a lot to get last minute to try and wade through this, so. I did.
I totally apologize, I really do, I feel bad, because I rushed it, when I talked to Alex, I think it was last week, and he said, oh, okay, city council meeting, I rushed it, so.
Yeah.
I apologize. Were you part of that? It's just on the side of the road. Part of it, how you walk, so it is.
Right, I'm not part of the plan coming in.
Alright, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Good seeing you, we'll see you next year.
If there's anything interesting in here. It's only been, but it's 1 week since we saw each other and 2 weeks since the last meeting because of sometimes the calendars are weird. But a couple of things. So there was a bit of an alarm bell in here about the potential of a walkout in the legislative session. We talked about that last week because it's something that could cause problems. 10 years of working in the legislature, I have never seen such a cooperative and collegial environment. People in there do have their disagreements, but everybody has been very good to work with each other. I've been talking with a bunch of other lobbyists who have been there for a while, and they go, yeah, we don't think there's gonna be a walkout. Everybody's being nice to each other. Where just today, there was a announcement of a big legislative compromise between Senate Democrats and Republicans about Measure 110 reform that I thought had a snowball's chance in hell. So there's still definitely a possibility that Senate Republicans might walk out, and the Senate Republican leader clarified that before. But his condition was that, what did he say? In order for us to show up, we're going to want to see that we're going to be able to make a difference, and that's actually happening. For some people more than others, but it's like I said, in 10 years that I've been in the building, this is the nicest people that have gotten along so far. So I'm optimistic that things might actually go okay, and I've never been optimistic before because I've been there for so long. Yeah. I'm not the only one saying this. People on both sides of the United are saying this. So.
And is there a, I don't have to worry tax date?
Yeah, the legislative session goes through middle of March, so.
Things to happen.
Yeah, it's still possible that something bad could happen and they could say, okay, you got your Measure 110 fixed, now we're not gonna do anything else for you. But yeah, and even the League of Oregon Cities lobbyist thing. Talked with last week, he's been there like 25 years, he's like, yeah, I think things gotta be fine this time around, so. Don't just take it from me, take it to everybody else that I've been talking to, they're like, yeah. Things are good in Salem in a way that they haven't been in a decade. Yes, I think it's very likely that our money's gonna come through, so. I was worried a few weeks ago, I'm not worried. Yeah, well, I've still been moving, tonight we're gonna approve one of these RFPs, that we have issued for, a surveyor, and then, still talking to a few different engineering firms about, working on our actual project itself to get it designed. Yeah, I'm confident this is all gonna work out. Yeah, right? I would always. Yeah. CIS conference is February 28th through March 1st. That is the last weekend of the month. When city officials go to the CIS conference, CIS tends to give discounts for insurance services you get. So it wouldn't be a big discount. They say, they have somebody who's going to this and learning more about risk management. They're going to be more likely to avoid doing something that's going to result in a claim. Therefore, we give them a liability insurance test next time around. So I did get a scholarship to attend, a full scholarship. So that's the only reason I was looking at going there, is because it wasn't going to cost the city a penny. The other thing again is that city does get a discount on its liability insurance. Now, it does coincide with that possibility that I might be taking a position somewhere else between now and then. But the ultimate goal is that the city, because they send somebody, they get a discount. And I think that's valuable for the city to have, given we don't know how the financials are gonna be when it comes to paying for water next year. So,
So, given your flex schedule right now, how many days do you work with this priority?
this will be, unfortunately, so the 28th through the 1st, that is a Wednesday through a Friday, so that is normally the days that I would be here.
And can you flex any of that? Because that then gives us a whole week of another week of snow work from you.
If I could afford to like miss a day, for example, I would have to talk to them about what that does to, the city's ability to get the discount, that kind of thing.
Just a thought, that's your total days, you're working for us that week, especially because we're getting down the line, if you do end up leaving, that's a whole week for the no city business. It's a little concern.
I understand.
I just have to check that, I do that,
Yeah.
check that box.
You talk about the administrative paperwork and, with the liquidity and transition plan, there's a lot of stuff that you're gonna need to do to help get that ready.
Sure. So it could be that if I ultimately do come, so we could say, make this decision right now. If next week we find out that I'm leaving, the council could say, I would rather you spend that week here, and I will say yes to go. I won't be coming. If you want, I could see if a counselor is able to attend. I don't know if anybody has the time, but they could take their city official. It's in Salem, so it's not like we're in across the state. But if the council says, if you're going to be leaving, we would prefer you not go this year, then that is that. I will not go this year. If you, so is there a consensus?
I don't know if we really discussed it. Just thought. And maybe something we discussed, we got time still.
Right now, if Alex ends up leaving, we need every day we can get. To get everything right.
Well, I don't know whether the cost benefit of getting a potential discount on the liability insurance is really gonna outweigh. I think we're in a much better place with potentially coming to replacement for you than when we found you. But still, it's gonna be a lot of work.
Well, then I will plan on doing that. If next week I find out that I'm going to be going to a different city, I'm good as yes. So that's the commitment I'm making now in public. If I do it anyway, you can go ahead and.
I'm sure it's being recorded, right?
It is being recorded on the record twice. It should be. Yeah, working on all sorts of paperwork right now. There's a lot they give you. And they keep going, no, not quite, and coming back, and it takes a week for some coming up. Exactly, so, yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Tuesday evening, I let this potential new employer know that I would not be able to start until April 1st because they kind of pushed back their decision making time. And I was like, I didn't want that to maybe lead back, so I wasn't gonna let that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, Tuesday.
Water loss last month was about just over 5%. 21,000 gallons of that was the divers flooding the reservoir. That happened on February 1st. I was finding like flow from the system March 18th through the 20th. I will, as a reminder, I'll be gone the 4th through the 8th to the OEW year annual management technical conference. There's a few recommendations from the divers or that team that came. With council would like to copy, I can email you a copy. It's 33-page reports on it. The two highest water users for the month were people that had highest births during that ice. February 28th, Oregon Health Authority will be here conducting a water system survey. I'm not sure how long that will take. And it's done every 3 to 5 years, depending on how long.
And what are they looking for, like particulate from the water or?
There's a list of stuff here. I'll leave it on my desk. You're welcome to look at it. Also, there was last meeting, there was some questions about manufacturing, so there's paper here if you want to look at it. Any questions?
You have any conversation with the FTC who's gonna talk to the well driller? And maybe talk to
You can same here. Okay. No, we didn't already. No, there's just some minor stuff. You know, there's 9 things. So, one of them. There. Yeah, the corrosion one on the tank is an old tank. So we might look at having it really, go to old tank and everything. There's a spray thing that I'm gonna take care of. And then their medical dining is suggesting inspecting every 3 years or less instead of every 5 years. But I think that's more of a money grab. They are actually recruits from South Dakota. So they're traveling all around the country. They work for 3 months and then they go home for a week.
But it had to be that of a tank, or that was a used tank, like I.
Yeah, I think it was 1965.
The used tank, they bought it, and then they brought it out here to Texas and wore it together for how. And that's got to the board, and they kind of support the inside. Maybe they did it, maybe they just keep an eye on one state of fire,
Yeah.
Or I mean, even that, we can't be done with the same work to buy it. Yeah, but.
You said that they're gonna, the OHA is gonna come in. Are they gonna do the testing, like the negative testing in the water?
You know, that's done through water lab out of Salem. And we're at least every month, there's testing going on with the water, different tests. No, it's mainly an admin type thing, inspection, mainly. That's paperwork, make sure that all the reports, they're, just ready to go to one. I have a written call form sampling plan. There's a map of the distribution system, emergency response plan, chemical dosage records, treatment as applied. That's what I have. That's stuff like that.
That minute ago was that they came in and they're told it, so.
Yeah, and they will be sending a flash drive of the video. Did we get it already?
We didn't get it over, but. We YouTube.
Yeah.
Water restrictions.
Yep. So this is resolution 2402. So the way that we did our water restriction rules is that anytime the works director determines that we need to implement them, we then he has to issue an interim order saying restriction time, non-restriction time, but that's followed by a council action to validate this order. So that's what this is saying. Restriction be done. Yes.
We adopt ordinance 4044 national order.
Oh, thank you.
That's okay.
Any opposed? That's after the merge.
All right, Mr. Mayor, the next one is a public hearing on the water rate ordinance. There's just sort of related. I think it's the bottom. Well, first thing is to call the order to public hearing. I'd love to hear it. And the next one is, we can have a motion to read the ordinance by title only.
Make a motion when you read the. Order of the title.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, ordinance 2024-01, increasing water rates. All right, so the next thing is that I will present the ordinance, and then after that, we can have public comment. We get a little bit of discussion time here, we can ask what is the ordinance about? And then once that has happened, kind of between us, we open it to the public, people can comment. And it will, we will know when people comment, they will have to say their names and addresses. So, ordinance 2024-01, last week we had a meeting to discuss water rates during our non-restriction and restriction periods. So the first one is going to be that we remove several of the tiers in our list and simplify it a lot more. Right now, though, after this change, there will only be 4 tiers. So the first one will be 2,500 gallons. That's our $4,700. Sorry, our $47 Yeah, some people are gonna. Hopefully, tier 2, 2,500 to 5,000. Remains at 1610 per 1,000, and then over 5,000 to 7,500 moves up to 20 cents per gallon, and then 7,500 plus would be 4 cents per gallon during the restriction periods. Then during oldies,
5 to 7,500 is 20 cents per gallon.
$4 per 1,000 gallons.
yeah, so that's right. It works out to $20
Okay. Thank you. And then the other one is.
4 cents per gallon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Then the commodity charge during water restriction 47 remains 25 to 5,000 moves up to 2 cents per gallons. Then 5,000 to 7,500 moves to 4 cents per 1,000, and then after that it's 9 cents per gallon over 7,500. So that is what this ordinance does.
First numbers, so it was a key answer to the. Find out.
Let's take a couple hours and give it this time.
We don't have to go. It's pretty now, but yeah. It was in the 20s.
So we can have, there's no more discussion initially that we open up to public comment. I first ask if there's any proposed, if there's any public comment in favor, and if there's none, you can say if there's any against. And if there's none, you can say if there's any neutral. If there ends up being against, and then somebody else says, well, I want to rebut that, and get them all the time. But the first thing I have to say is there any public comments in favor of this ordinance?
Any public comment?
Now we say, is there any public comments against the ordinance?
Against the ordinance?
No. Is there any public comment neutral towards the ordinance?
No, yeah.
Well, with that, you can, move to, the council comments.
So then, close it first.
Yeah, we close the public hearing because comment time is now closed and the council can talk.
Close the public hearing.
So we asked it all, left the meeting to go, we did it. Make sure we take a lot of things here, that go wrong, not trying to rock anything, we try to make sure our city keeps moving, keep on. And never got down, so I think it's doing pretty good itself, so.
Well, the quick calculations I had, significant, should be a significant difference per month of what the city will bring in during the non-restricting times. And that's, it'll be a good little buffer for potential future.
Things like we're gonna have to
Yeah, if not, we just, in general. And, just, you know, honestly, I thought I would be here, but everything I was wanting to.
We talked to them, that's what I do, that's something and talk about the song, we did it.
No, my whole point, not to rehab it, was just, I just kind of wanted to have an idea that the number increase would be significant enough to make a difference or not, you know.
Not necessarily,
And so, and then you guys, you know, pretty much nailed it. One of the things that we wanted to do is make it for the people that have been putting on the water all along. You know, not having. Well, you know, the more I thought about it, you know, we talked a lot about how much, starting kind of off there. Well, like in business, right? We're all spending all in business, giving away stuff. But businesses do it every year. Clothing companies do it. That's the reason they call it Black Friday, because you make all your money at a time so that you can do it right. And so that's kind of my concern is that no one kind of be during that no restricted area. The money. That was kind of my thought process, because, you know, there's places that are seasonal, they don't have any rent on that full time, right? So I just, you guys did great, I wish I could have been here. It's what I'm.
Ordinance, 2401, wide, the wide range.
Second time machine developed, ordinance 2024-01.
That is the other, the contact, the worksheet.
Sodaville, county have to do the board. By actions. I asked that the city administrator reporter review the 25 on the agenda.
So this is from detail surveyors, there are 11, and this is a surveyor that the council actually recommended that we work with. So seal of approval from somebody who has worked with them before. There's two purposes to the RFP. Is one to have a surveyor retained, just so we have a surveyor because we don't want to get every time we get a survey. So the other portion of this is using them for deep surveying work that's going to be needed to happen for a new well to be added to the system. We need somebody to survey and figure out what an easement is going to look like and draw it up so that our legal counsel can write a purchase agreement. And that is what this will be for. The contract will be with them. Anytime we engage with them, we'll sign a new contract, but what we're doing is basically saying, we are awarding a bid for RFP 2023-3 to Dell Engineering and Surveying tonight, and that's going to, if you look at the original RFP, we covered both of those things, and that means that when we need them, we'll be able to just send this out without having to do a public meeting and put something on all of the radio posts. Once the vote happens, then we close the public hearing. Different rules for different types of public hearings.
Bid for the RFP 2023-3 to Udo Engineering and Land Surveying. What brought you guys? Just wanted to see what you do.
I don't do here more often if I didn't work a different job. But this week I'm working day shift and. Here I am. I've been for 50 years, I've never, can't get my place.
I just have a question. I live on Westview. You guys live up the hill?
What to?
Holy guacamole, how did you get down there in the ice storm? I couldn't get out of my driveway. I didn't, I didn't go anywhere.
I drove.
Oh.
And the two drive on. Well, so I did not drive until the first rain. Where it textured the audio, then I drove. Got down, but I couldn't get back up. Well, I did get back up, but I couldn't get back up easily. The next day when it froze again, and it was complete slick, I didn't drive all. But I walked down 2 hills.
Do you want or sled?
And well, I took a sled.
You saw, I don't know if you guys have kids, but I was just cracking up on the kids sliding down. Oh my God. Never did. I was living vicariously. I'd break a hip if I did it, but.
I didn't have my family to live here, I got a 4-drive day up instead of stone time, I still had to chain up on a Wednesday, yeah, I drive, get to the ground, lay in her. On the side.
Has nothing to do with this.
Yeah,
I just-
so, yeah.
I help people out of the ditch up there on the hill.
Yeah.
Where do you live?
30618, so where the mailboxes are, kind of at the.
Big 2-story,
The bottom of the hill?
Yeah,
bottom of the second vertical.
so it's like,
The
no,
bottom of the hill?
no.
You come around the corner, coming on to the, it's right at the corner right there, it's about, you got
So
two
when you
houses.
turn on to Westview, when you see those row of mailboxes on the right hand side.
The house on top, yeah.
That's right.
Seems like the bottom, right? Okay, so you're down right there?
Yeah.
And the brown one?
Yes.
Oh.
Kind of
The old trailer house. Yeah, I remember the sale.
Yeah.
You get your little greenhouse over there?
Yes, with my, I'm not growing drugs.
On the top, on top of the other hill,
Yeah, okay.
where the RV kind of is.
Oh, cool.
You guys got this?
Yeah.
I do.
How long we give it to Sodaville?
Oh, 07?
Like,
I'll say technically, yeah. Yeah, I like it here.
good answer.
It's hard for the kids because they're,
Nothing.
they live on the hill, they can't just go riding a bike down some, but nobody wants to go back up.
Cause they have to come back to the party.
Oh, yeah, I read it in there.
You need to be in a winch, you know, and then hook it up to a tree and then you just switch it.
Big dog.
Get the quad and just ride around.
I'm budget over the coming out of the license.
Maybe the city could put in a chairlift.
Oh, there you go, sure.
Oh, yes, I do too.
Well, anyway, I really want to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Well, thank you very much for coming. I didn't even hear your name.
Sarah.
Sarah. And Dylan.
Yeah.